And we are back, right? This is Star, and we're going to talk about ADHD and what it means for me to live in this Black body, in this country, and experiencing the effects of it and experiencing all the emotions. And I wanted to talk about, you know, some of the negative self talk that can happen when you first experience a diagnosis or when you identify and resonate with it. When I first got my diagnosis, I actually had mixed feelings about it. I just posted a video about how I felt still in shock about it. I am still coming to terms with my identity and who I am in light of this new information about myself while I was swimming in the dark, not knowing why I was experiencing some of the challenges that I would experience over and over again when it didn't seem like other people were. I'm really coming to terms with who I am about that. And so it's still a journey, but I'm getting better and better with it every day. That's a mantra that I'm going to say to myself because um, I'm doing a lot of work to just share my experience so that these experiences can mean something and even become profitable for me, and not just in a monetary way, but in a way of impact and being able to help other young Black girls who went through what I went through in school because they have ADHD and they can't control their impulses, or they're bored and they're tuning out. They are overwhelmed with emotions and they keep it inside because it doesn't seem like anybody else is feeling that way. So they don't want to feel stupid. Let me just keep something in perspective. There's apparently 330 million people in America. I don't know if that includes documented, undocumented, but there's supposed to be a population of about 330 million people in America. Um, ADHD is considered a very common condition that affects 3 million people. So, yes, if you feel different and out of sorts, if you feel outcast and isolated, if you feel like no one understands you, and if you feel just awkward, then you're right. You are different. You're different than a lot of other people. And add to that the amount of Black people who have ADHD is I don't know. I didn't look up those numbers. Maybe I could look that up right now. How many Black people have ADHD in America? Have they even studied this? Um, it doesn't have a it doesn't have a number. In fact, there is an article in Attitude magazine, which I really hope to be writing for them soon. I am going to submit to them to be a blogger for them. Um, Attitude magazine talks about being inside the ADHD mind. There's an article that talks about people of color getting left behind. I'll put that in the description. But it says in the 2016 study, they found that once diagnosed, children of color were much less likely to take medication, and just 36% of Black kids and 30% of Latino kids who have been diagnosed with ADHD were taking medication, compared to 65% of white children. Okay, that's not the point of this. All right, but let's just do a side note and talk about that real quick. The stigma around medication. I'm actually attempting to link up with my therapist and get the information for the psychiatrist that she recommended that I see, because Jordan Peterson, he's a Canadian psychologist. He talks about doing something called self-authoring and self-parenting. And he's not the only person who talks about parenting yourself. But he says that if you were to parent yourself, you're actually looking at yourself as if you're your own child, and you're going to do what's best for that person. Because a lot of times we have a lot of barriers to caring for ourselves. We don't think we deserve it because we don't love ourselves because of the messages that we've been given. White people get different messages about themselves than Black people do. Some of those messages overlap, okay? But overall, in general, it could have been on a personal level or on a wider scale. You're going to get different messages from people about who you are and what you deserve. And that becomes negative self talk. And somebody with ADHD or anxiety can engage in that a lot more. Somebody with depression can engage in that negative self talk way more than the average person. I find that people are becoming more and more negative about themselves every day. It seems like there's more people coming forward about the fact that they do feel very negatively about themselves, right? But to get back on track, what I want to say about the medication is that it's not necessarily bad or good to take medication for this condition. I want to go see the psychiatrist because I want to treat myself as if I was a child parenting myself. And if I had a child who was having struggles and who their therapist told them go see the psychologist, I would at least go and talk to the person. And if I felt that what they're saying made sense, but maybe I didn't like their vibe, I would go and see another and another and another. So I would not stop at an idea that says, wait, ADHD medication is wrong. ADHD medication is giving up. It's copping out. It means that I haven't tried hard enough doing natural therapies. It just means that I just want to depend on big pharma. It means I'm giving in to big pharma. All these negative things. Listen, I stopped myself from getting well for 4 years with a fibroid because I refused to have surgery. And when I finally got surgery a year later, I was fine. And it's not as much of an issue anymore. Um, excuse me. So all the natural things that I could have done to help that, I didn't have the self-discipline to do. Now, if you're talking about ADHD and you want to use alternative methods, I think that's great. I think that's amazing. And I've been already using a lot of those things. Music therapy to help calm me and focus me. I'm getting rid of digital distractions. I'll turn my phone off and put it in another room using Toggle, which is a time tracking app, and it has the Pomodoro timer, which pings me every 25 minutes so I have a brain break in whatever I'm trying to concentrate on. Lists on lists on lists. Um, so like I have a list that actually breaks up the times of the day. That's actually really helpful for me. Um, there's so many things, but I want to know what it feels like to set an intention, sit down, and do something without getting distracted, and to know that I can do that at the same time every day. Now, that may never that may not be what medication does for me. And I may not even choose to take medication. All I know is that I've heard good things from Black women. I've heard good things from older white guys. I've heard good things from different people talking about how medication has benefited them. And I've also heard negative things. So, anyway, even though I read the passage that had nothing to do with what I was talking about, I'm glad I was able to use that to address the stigma, even about using medication. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe it has gotten to that level. Maybe it just happens to work for you. Maybe you don't want to use it, and that's fine. Um, Judging someone who does is not okay. So, when you first get a diagnosis or you believe that you have ADHD, there could be different barriers that you have to actually getting an official diagnosis, right? You may not have the money, you may not know where to begin to look for a therapist, you may not have the time, or you may have the ideas of others in your head and you may feel fear. Well, I want to encourage you to actually continue to research online, continue to watch videos, continue to get other people's experiences, and really resonate as much as you can with that, and trust yourself in what you feel about your struggles and why you may be having them. Because even though it threw me for a loop, even though I do wonder if I had known this before, how my life had been different, how much I wouldn't have blamed myself and beat myself up for not completing tasks and goals and seemingly self-sabotaging opportunities, jobs, and just forgetting my goals and not being able to decide who I want to be and what I want to do with my life. All the guilt that comes with that. Because remember, I'm in my 30s, so the idea that I should be in my own place and all these things, you know, I was so depressed about that for so long being here. And I'm no longer going to. beat myself up for that. And I had to get over that again before I got the diagnosis. But now that I really have it, it's like, oh, yeah, this is just another confirmation that, God is not through with me, because God has given me another reason to actually hone in on something and create content around that. Because being a content creator, being a writer is just always what I wanted to do. So it's crazy, because having this condition and knowing about it now has given me a focus, because I've always loved to research myself and why I do the things that I do. I said in previous videos that I love human behavior and I like understanding why people do what they do. So I be trying to stay on track. I promise y'all. But I'm not a robot, and I can't just like if I get another thought, like I'm gonna talk about it. So hopefully this is why you like these videos, because they're real and they're unscripted. So um what not to say if you meet someone. I mean, just don't brush it off. Just really, this, I don't want to do a listicle, and I don't want to do one of those things where it's like, don't say this and don't say that. Literally, just understand and have compassion that everyone experiences life differently. And if someone, I believe these days there are very few people who are doing a cry for help falsely, that are crying wolf. I believe that people are really truly hurting. And I honestly feel like I'm a filter for a lot of that. But that could just be my brain, me just feeling overwhelmed, period. So I don't know what the reasons are for me feeling the way that I do and feeling very emotional and in touch with people's emotions and pain. They call it being empathic. I don't know what the deeper spiritual reasons are for ADHD having that effect, because I do believe that there is a spiritual cause to a lot of things, and it really, there's a spiritual meaning behind things. I don't want to say cause in the sense that there's something that you're doing spiritually wrong and you're being punished. I'm not saying that at all. No, that is an absolute non-truth in my opinion. But to say that there could be thoughts that you have about yourself, or to say that you could be coming in and being incarnated into this world with different, generational curses, trauma that happened to you in the womb because other people who carried you, or who were around your biological mother, were hurting. I mean, who knows? But it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're here now. And the point is, you're watching this video now so that you can get some clarity on what you're going through. I'm here so I can share my story. Talking helps me. I'm in a position, I call it a lean time right now. I'm in a position right now where I have the time to create the content, to share with you and connect with you. And you can say, hey, I'm not alone, because that's really important, right? So, some of that negative self-talk, that you're a failure, and that, shoulda, coulda, woulda, and the idea that, you know, that you're wrong or broken or irreparable, meaning you can't be repaired in some way. All of that stuff is normal to feel, but it is also not true. What really helped me is these self-love affirmations. All I would do was go click on Louise Hay self-love affirmations every morning for the month of August. I was so proud of myself for being consistent. And listen, I really did benefit from that. So, you know, just take it easy on yourself and take it easy on each other. Let's take it easy on one another who may be dealing with this as well. Also, to know that it looks different in different people. That's that's really important to know as well. Um, I do want these videos to be, 20 to 25 minutes. Um, um, Let me talk about let me talk about how surprising it was that some of my quirks were actually related to ADHD, in terms of over explaining, overcompensating, self criticism, and imposter syndrome. I'll talk about that in a next video. So, before I'm done, because I have about 5 more minutes, I actually did go into the job meeting and it went well. I went in very clear on what I needed in a job. And as I listened to her speak, I listened for these three things. And I wrote them down because I had to. I said, I just wanted to regulate my excitement. And before I got too excited about any new opportunity, I said, if it doesn't have these three things, then I know that it is not what God wants for me because I'm very clear on where I'm supposed to be at this point. I'm very clear that it doesn't have to look like the package that I originally thought, but it has to have these core elements. Number one, flexibility around time, tasks, and my presence, like where I'm expected to be. So flexibility around time, task, and location. And, me being where I am in Columbia, South Carolina, I wasn't sure that there were a lot of jobs that could offer that. The second one was stimulation. I had to be challenged and I had to be able to use my creativity every day. I didn't want to say what I didn't want, but that means I didn't want to be stuck in routine. But I decided to frame it positively. I want to be stimulated. I want to be challenged and I want to use my creativity. And number three was that I need to be able to connect with people. I'm an extrovert. So if I have ADHD as an extrovert, that means that I need people to be stimulated in order not to get bored, in order not to get frustrated. And then my brain will be satisfied and I can function better. That's a simple explanation for how I feel I experience it. So I need to be able to build relationships and I need to have connection with people. So, what do you know? This position is actually remote. This position only requires me to build relationships with people and influencers to have them do events at the space. And obviously, it involves me problem solving, being in the moment, and engaging my adrenaline that way through creativity. Now, mind you, let me just get it all out there. I am very nervous because I'm like, if I do get this position or whatever, I'm actually, of course, I'm scared that I'll fail. I'm scared that I'm going to mess up. I'm scared that the things that I want to do, they may not get have the desired results. But I know that I'm good at something when I put my mind to it and when I'm interested and engaged. And this is me basically being able to create things from scratch, just like I do with these videos, just like I do with my blog posts. And I'm like so fixated on that. By the way, I'm using WordPress. If anyone knows how to build or create an email sign up form, oh my gosh, I tried it and I gotta talk to my developer friends for that because it's just like, oh my goodness, it is kind of complicated. Um, so if you can help with that, let me know. But yeah, there is a position out there for you, and I'm very glad that went in strong. I went in knowing what works for me, and I also went in knowing what I could offer and how I could help. I just think like a business owner now because I started a business, and even though I was going into a place of employment, I mean, everything is personal. I everything is personal. So it's like I can't really be separated from my job and myself. I really have to be 100% bought into what I do. So I just wanted to give you guys that update. I have another meeting to have with who would be my would be supervisor. And once she gets back into the country, we'll talk. And I'm really happy because if this turns out to be an opportunity for me, I think I can make a great impact for the space and for the community, which is really important to me to be impactful wherever I am, in whatever space that I, show up in. Ugh, I hate the word space. Gosh, I hate using it, but it's like in whatever place I show up in. Um, so yeah. Know what you need. It took me years. It took me so long. Like, don't think that it has to come right away. If you're just starting this journey and you're noticing some patterns in yourself and you're like, what's wrong with me? Understand there's nothing wrong with you. Just understand that you need a certain type of environment to thrive the best in. And that's how you should approach it, in a positive way. Please frame it positively for yourself and for me. All right, y'all. Peace out. Oh my gosh, I'm getting tired. I'm going to record one more video though, so you'll see this tube top again.